Hello and welcome to the Ice Guys. This is the show that takes you into the world of the National Hockey League. Every game, every day, from a betting perspective. With pro sports handicappers Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith, and various guests from the world of hockey and sports betting. And now, here's your host, Ian Cameron.
Welcome to the Ice Guys, presented by Boston Hemp Inc. Wednesday, May the 8th. Ian Cameron, of course, Alex B. Smith is going back home, so he'll be away for the next several days, but we'll have him back next week. And pleased to be joined today, another great guest joining us. We've got Nick Wydock joining us here, and he's on the go. He's joining us from his car. He's putting in the work today. He does have a day job, folks, and he is putting in the time with that, but he's taking some time out to stop over and give us about 45 minutes to an hour or so here on the Ice Guys Show. Nick, what's going on? How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. Just trying to stay cool down here in Texas right now, but just working and grinding.
Yeah, no doubt. It's good to have you with us. I'm fascinated because the one thing that I was excited about, and as far as bringing you on the show, Nick, is that you're from Tennessee, Shelbyville, Tennessee.
Yeah.
Of course, this is not exactly historically hotbed of hockey in your parts, but the Nashville Predators' existence starting in the late 90s has really helped hockey build itself in Tennessee, in some of those southern states and southern markets. So I guess the first question is, how did you fall in love with the sport? Was it before Nashville Predators got there? Was it because of their emergence, being there as a franchise in the state? How did Nick fall in love with hockey?
So actually, my dad got me into hockey. We moved from Pennsylvania when I was maybe 6 months old, maybe. And so my dad watched hockey and whatnot, but never even thought about playing it until the Preds came into town. And that's when they started doing little groups here and there, and I just joined in. I loved it, fell in love. I was probably 13 years old when Preds came into town, or maybe 12, honestly. And yeah, ever since, at first I was going to be a player, and then I hopped on and played goalie and just fell in love with it.
There you go. And goaltender was your position.
Yeah.
We always say goalies are a little bit, their own breed. They're a little unique, a little quirky. Would you consider yourself quirky because you're a goaltender, or no, I'm just normal as can be? There's nothing odd or quirky or weird about me.
Oh no, I'm off. I'm a little loose cannon. Loose cannon. Most of us are. I don't care what any goalie says.
I think someone in our chat knows you, Nick. I can tell by the name, Roller Hockey Lifestyle, because you were telling me you're in roller hockey currently. Still. Nick Wydock with 3 exclamation points. So someone in our chat knows you there, Nick. So it's from what it would seem. But so you played a few years pro hockey as a goaltender. What fascinated you about playing that position? And was it I'd like to be goalie rather than forward or defenseman? Was there just a personal liking that you took to playing as a goaltender?
Well, when I was told I'd get to be on the rink the whole time, that's what sold me.
Wow. You like being that one player on a hockey team that's on the ice for the whole game. Yeah.
Yeah. I played baseball and soccer growing up, and I got bored with it. And once I got told I could skate the whole entire game, I was like, yeah, sign me up. Then they didn't tell me about, the pucks coming at me too much at first, but
that's the hard part.
Once
I think we lost Nick now. It's funny because we were testing his connection before the show started. And at the very beginning or before the show, he was cutting in and out a bit. He was fine for the last little bit. I think we got him back, though. We got you. Well, we got your picture back to full clarity. That we don't have your audio at the moment. Say something there, Nick. Yeah, we've lost your audio now. We can't hear you. There you go. Oh, no, you're not muted. I can see your mic's not muted. Uh-oh. Wow. Uh-oh. We've lost ability to hear what Nick is saying at the moment, unfortunately. But you know what it is, Nick? Slide out, slide out of the studio and slide back in of the StreamYard studio. See if that fixes it. We'll see if we can reestablish the connection with Nick. In the meantime, we're going to talk last night. We'll see if we can get Nick back with us. You know, it's tough sledding when the connection's going in and out, but we got to keep the show rolling. Last night, great betcast again. We appreciate everyone joining us. Lots of fun. Really got kind of interesting in the late night hours with Mike M indulging in some libations and maybe a few too many libations and adult beverages and later in the night. But if you know Mike M, and Mike M does a lot of these betcasts or live shows, during the games over on Pub Sports Radio as well. He can get like that sometimes, and he certainly did last night. I don't know if throwing all that money on Colorado was the most wise move, but hey, if it wins, it paid off. So you can't really say that it was a bad decision after all. We'll see if we can get Nick back with us. How are you?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, very good. We're back. Good stuff. So you played 2 years in goal. You're still playing pro hockey, roller hockey, that is. You're still involved with that currently, and you're teaching. Tell us about how you're teaching the hockey goalie schools that you're involved with.
Yeah, so I am actually coaching multiple different programs. This weekend, I'm actually doing a camp down in Texas. It's 2 days, 3 hours a day, about 40 to 50 kids. So it's going to be pretty good. In Tennessee, I'm in Hendersonville at the rink there. I do goalie lessons there. And then I'm trying to do some ice all over as well. So I've been asked a few times to do some ice lessons all over here. It's crazy how much hockey has grown in Nashville, Texas, everywhere. I mean, I didn't realize there was so much hockey out in Texas.
Oh, it's huge there. And, it's funny. One of our frequent, regular weekly contributors to the show is Matt Robinson, who's a big Dallas Stars fan, originally from Plano, Texas. He's living in Reno, Nevada now. And he said, hockey's grown tenfold in Texas the last 2 decades, and certainly developing players and hockey camps and the ability to play youth hockey in that state. It's improved significantly. And I'm sure you can say the same thing about Tennessee since the Predators have been there. Speaking of the Nashville Predators, Nick, before we get into the NHL stuff from last night and tonight's 2 games, you're a big Nashville Predators fan, obviously. Being in the state of Tennessee is a very disappointing end of the season, losing in the first round of the Vancouver Canucks. But you can also say that, you look back before the All-Star break, Nick, you're probably even worried if this fucking team was going to make the playoffs. That's where they were. They were life and death. To the fact that they put that incredible stretch of hockey together in the second half of the season, including that 18-game consecutive point streak that they had to get themselves in a spot to make the playoffs. So, you can be disappointed that they got knocked out in the first round by the Canucks. But I think at the end of the day, Nick, when you pull back and you do the grand overview and postmortem of the overall season, you've got to say it's a pretty good season for Nashville, considering what the expectations were going into the season.
Oh yeah, as a Preds fan and a player, you didn't expect anything this whole season, to be honest with you. And then once the trade deadline hit, and then the All-Star game after the All-Star break, it was like a whole new team. And I think they all just bought into the system that Burnett was trying to run. And I mean, it blew up and they just looked unstoppable. I mean, to be honest, still even making the playoffs after the beginning of the season, everybody, I think, was just shocked. And especially in Nashville, it's just, you weren't expecting it. Of course, every year you want your team to make the playoffs, but it was also considered a rebuilding year. So to even make it that far, I mean, I honestly wasn't disappointed that they lost in the first round. I was pretty happy how they even played in playoffs. I mean, every game was close. So, I mean, considering that they almost made it to the second round was even a shock.
I agree. I think this is a good look. There's a lot of people not even thinking they're a playoff team, even though they brought in some additions that you thought if they get in the playoffs, it's going to help them out, like a Ryan O'Reilly and a Luke Shen, and guys that have veteran presence. And the thing that Nashville is going to have to improve at, they believe in Luke Evangelista and Tommy Novak and some of these other depth forwards stepping up and becoming bigger offensive contributors. They've either got to have faith in those guys to take another step, or they're going to have to improve their punch offensively from the bottom six, because there was just too much reliance on Philip, who's incredible this year. Don't get me, just outstanding this year, Philip Forsberg. I can't say enough good things about the way he played this year with O'Reilly and Nyquist. But that line carried them to the point where it was almost there was too much on their plate. They had to do too much to help this team win games. So they got to get a little more punch offensively down the lineup. There's no question about that. Of course, when on the blue line, there's some good pieces there. They need Fabro back to health. Roman Josi played at an elite level again this year. You know, I like some of the pieces they have on the blue line as well. But I think depth up front is something they've got to work on in the offseason.
Oh, 100%. I mean, that line, like you said, the Forsberg, O'Reilly, Nyquist line, they tore it up. If it wasn't for them, I don't think they make it that far, to be honest. So they got to have they have to definitely get a third, fourth line going. I mean, you look at the NHL across the board, and the teams that are in the playoffs right now, they have depth. That's why they've made it as far as they have. And
they are. Yep.
That's how you compete. That's how you're going to compete. So.
Yeah, exactly. How many times have we said it on this show over the years? You need four lines to help you win in the Stanley Cup playoffs, and you need contributions from all 12 forwards. You know, you just can't put all your eggs in the basket of one line. That's not going to cut it for you in the Stanley Cup playoffs. That's probably what Nashville has to work on. Just one last thing on Nashville. If you on your wish list for Nashville in the offseason, Nick Wydock's wish list, one thing Nashville could add to this team to make them better going into next season, what would it be?
I would honestly get another veteran defenseman. Fast, kind of like of course it's hard to get another Roman Josi, but I think they need somebody on that line, or not his line specifically, but they need another one like him. Because after Roman Josi, you got Shen and stuff, but they don't have the speed. It's hard to find guys that can join the rush like Josi, and I think they need another one.
I think there's some truth to that for sure. A little bit more fluidity, a little more puck movement, absolutely, from the blue line. Get that defense to offense transition game going a little bit better, because you're right. Other than Josi, there's not a lot of that in terms of widespread throughout the blue line. So, yeah, I agree with that. It'll be interesting because Nashville's right in that middle tweener region right now in the NHL, where they're not a rebuilding team, but they're not like one of the elite teams or contenders either for a Stanley Cup. So they're right in that middle ground right now. So it's going to be interesting to see a big offseason, second, I guess, full offseason for Barry Trotz since taking over as the general manager from the legendary David Poile, who, of course, retired before the start of last season. All right, looking back on last night, and we were on a betcast, Nick, last night, me and a bunch of our viewers and listeners, and we're live betting, and we're watching the games, we're throwing back some beers. It's always fun. And we couldn't have asked for two better hockey games last night for this betcast. I mean, incredible. We start with the Carolina Hurricanes and the New York Rangers. That game was awesome.
Yeah.
The pace was off the charts. It had a little bit of everything. It had physicality. It had nastiness after the whistle, tons of scrums, bitter feelings, tremendous playmaking, and goals. Like the goals that were scored, some of them were just beauty goals. Outstanding goaltending from both goalies, and especially Igor Shesterkin, with 54 saves for the New York Rangers in that victory. A huge win for the Rangers to take it 4-3 in double overtime. Vincent Trocheck, who I cashed a goal prop at plus 250 he gets the overtime winner for the Rangers. He's been red hot. But at the end of the day, Nick, the overall theme of that series, and again last night for Carolina in that Game 2 loss, lack of discipline, lack of composure, in the penalty box too much, and the Rangers power play is destroying the Carolina penalty kill early in this series. And I came into this series, Nick, thinking that was a saw-off, that battle, that the Rangers power play is elite. But I said, well, hold on now. Carolina's penalty kill is elite. Carolina's had one of the best penalty killing teams in the NHL for the last few years, but it has not been this way in this series. The Rangers have had their way with the man advantage. And once again, they use it to their advantage last night in double overtime to get the Game 2 win and take a 2-0 series lead with them over the Hurricanes back to Raleigh for Game 3. Nick, what were your thoughts and observations from that one last night?
Yeah, like you said, lack of discipline is huge, especially now in the playoffs. You look almost every team has an elite power play. And if you most of them can capitalize almost every time. If you look at the chances they get, even if they don't score on the power play, you have 2 to 3 chances every time. And it doesn't matter how good of a PK you have. You get worn down if you're in the box the whole time. I mean, it's even your goaltending. Your goaltending on a penalty kill, it's exhausting. Yep. You're constantly moving side to side, back and forth. I mean, sooner or later, it's gonna kill you as a team. And look, that's kind of what happened with last night. I mean, you end up in the it's game over pretty much. Especially New York. New York's got one of the best ones, and their goaltending, you can't beat it. Shesterkin is by far the best goalie in the NHL.
You're not beating him when he plays like that last night. That's for sure. He was just incredible. The number of high danger, like we're talking 10 out of 10 on the degree of difficulty scale of saves that he had to make in the third period and in the 2 overtime periods, especially. That guy, when he is dialed in like that, he is special. He is a special goaltender, and he showed it last night.
And you can't beat a team especially with a goalie like that, if you're in the box.
Yep.
You know what I mean? You're not going to get chances. But even then, 5-on-5, I mean, like you said, Carolina 5-on-5, it's hard to beat them.
Yep.
I mean, so if Carolina stays out of the box, I think it's going to be, it'll be tough to beat them if they stay disciplined. I mean, New York, you have your goaltending and some depth, but like, I love Carolina. I just think they're all around such a good team. And I mean, if Anderson plays well, he's a top goaltender as well.
He can be. He hasn't been bad in this series, Nick, but here's the problem. He gave up a terrible soft goal against Panarin in game 1. That was a backbreaker. He's got to have that. And, he was very good last night, I thought. But again, he's not making that extra save that Shesterkin's making.
100%.
That's an issue. And we're at the point now in the series, Nick, where Rod Brind'Amour, you're trying to create a spark. Your team's down 2-0, although you're still not, totally up against it yet because you're going back home. You've got a really strong home ice there at PNC Arena, and you're never out of a series until you lose a home game. So they could easily go back home and hold serve. But I do think they need a little bit of a change in momentum. And I don't know if I would for sure make this decision yet, but I would at least consider maybe going to the young Russian. Pyotr Kochetkov, who to me is the future for the Carolina Hurricanes in net. And like I say, give him a chance because I think Freddie Anderson, there's always to me a ceiling with Freddie Anderson. He's going to be good. He's going to give you a chance to win. But when you're going up against Igor at the other end, you've got to elevate to another level and make that incredible save or that save that maybe not everyone expects you to make. He's not making those. Igor's making them. So you're at the point now where, if you're going to hope your goalie's better than him, the other guy, Igor Shesterkin right now, you might have to put your faith in the young kid, Kochetkov, because I have seen him steal games. And to be honest, I've seen him when Freddie Anderson plays well and he wins games, it's because he makes all the saves that he should. But he doesn't make enough of those that, wow, that save, he totally stole one. He doesn't make enough of those, at least in my opinion. So I think when you look at it, it's something Rod Brind'Amour's got to, first of all, it doesn't matter who's in net. They got to stay out of the box and or the penalty kill has to get going, period, or else nothing's going to change. But they need an extra save or two. I would consider putting the future in net, Kochetkov, for game 3 and seeing if he's the spark that can get this Carolina team turned around in the series.
Yeah. I mean, you have nothing to lose. You're down 2-0.
Yep.
You got to do something. I mean, look at what Vegas and Dallas. Vegas pulled what's his name and then put Hill in.
Yep.
Middle of the series. He wasn't playing bad. Thompson wasn't playing bad.
Thompson wasn't playing bad. Yep.
He let in some soft goals occasionally, but I mean, they needed a spark. So, I mean, I don't think it would hurt at all to switch up. And it's not saying like, hey, you're not doing your job. It's just, hey, we need something.
Yep.
So I agree.
There's no question. And by the way, one last point I want to make about the Rangers. First of all, I do want to also mention, even though they lost, Carolina, a couple of the goals that were scored were just brilliant passing plays. Aho to Gensel, that pass from the corner to Gensel was just a thing of beauty. And that's the kind of goal that's going to beat Shesterkin, one that it's so quick developing that there's very little, if any, chance for the goalie to react in time.
Yeah.
It was just a perfect pass from Aho in the corner to Gensel out in front. And then the other one for the Rangers was Adam Fox finding Lafreniere at the side of the net for a perfect tip in. What a pass from the sideboards right onto the tape of Lafreniere at the side of the net. Perfect play. Unbelievable pass there by Adam Fox. That's why that game had it all. It had great goals, wonderful playmaking, unbelievable goaltending at times, nastiness. It was one of the best games of the playoffs last night, hands down, that Hurricanes-Rangers game.
To be honest, I had the Rangers versus Colorado, I've said from the beginning, as a Stanley Cup.
Well, still very much alive, I'll tell you that.
Still possible. But honestly, with Colorado, the only thing that's shaky for me is same thing, goaltending.
Yep.
I mean, that's what you got to have to win championships, and New York has it right now, but Colorado that's what scares me a little bit.
Yeah, there's no question. That's going to, well, last night, I'll tell you what, for as much as we've shit on, and we're going to get to the perfect segue, Nick, perfect. We're going to get to Colorado and Dallas now. That's going to be one that's, look, if you're Dallas, and you look, you've been bad in game ones. You've now lost 5 straight game ones, and I believe you've still ended up winning 4 of those 5 series, even though you lost game 1. Obviously, they lost game 1 and game 2 against Vegas, and they still won that series. You look at last year, they lost game 1 to Seattle. They still won that series in the second round. The first round series last year, they lost game 1. They still won it. They've been good at losing game 1 and still winning the series. And so it's not the end of the world here for Dallas, but it's just the fact that you had a 3-0 lead after the first period and you were not able to close out that game and win it. That's still, it sucks, I think, if you're Dallas. You're feeling like, wow, it's a missed opportunity here for us, given we were up 3-0 in that game and we couldn't close it out. But look, kind of the same shit we just talked about with Carolina. You start taking penalties against one of these damn power plays that can't be stopped, you're going to put yourself in trouble. And that's exactly what happened to Dallas. They started taking penalties in the second period. Colorado went 2 for 2. First 2 power plays, Colorado scored on both of them.
Yeah.
I mean, that is how lethal they are at the moment with the man advantage. They cut the lead from 3-0 to 3-2. McKinnon ties it early in the third. And for all the negativity we've had about Georgiev and the Colorado defense being shaky, Georgiev had to make a couple of tremendous saves in overtime, and he did. Because Dallas came out strong right in the early part of overtime, and Georgiev had to make a couple of just terrific saves, or else that was going to be Dallas winning that game. And next thing you know, Miles Wood gets a partial breakaway and goes to the backhand, beats Ottinger, and Colorado comes back, completes the comeback, and wins 4-3 in overtime. So Georgiev was great in overtime, so give him credit. But still, if you're Dallas, you can't be in a spot, Nick, where you have, 14 shots midway through the third period. I still don't think they tested them enough. They shot the puck enough, and they didn't have the puck enough to shoot it last night. You got to give Colorado credit for that. But, Dallas, very disappointing because they were up 3-0. Obviously, they've been here before, losing game 1 and still being able to come back and win a series. But still, Nick, missed opportunity.
Oh, big time. And for me, you look at Colorado. Colorado's, one of the fastest teams out there, personally, with McCarr, McKinnon. Yep. Their line alone is so deadly. Every time they're on the ice, you're worried they could score a goal. And Dallas, same thing. Look at Y. Johnson. That kid is tearing it up. And you look at just Sturkin, not Sturkin. I can't even know this. He's number 11, but he is fast. I don't know his name 100%, but the kid's fast. They both
Stankoven for Dallas.
Stankoven for Dallas. Look at him. He's tearing it up. That line alone. But to me, the speed alone for Colorado, and I called it. After the first period, I said, I think they're getting the dust cleared off from being off so long. And sure enough, second period, they came out and Colorado looked like a totally different team. Benefit of the doubt, Dallas played well in the first, but after that, it was just Colorado came out and took over. And you can't blow a 3-0 lead in playoffs.
No.
Going back to the Preds, they were up 2 goals with 2 minutes left and they ended up losing. It's just something you can't do. It's a killer. as much as it's only game one, it's in the back of your mind for game two. Like, it's hard to move on from, but I mean, it's one of those things you just have to. That's where your veteran guys come into play and say, hey, don't worry about it. We still got 6 more games. So hopefully,
absolutely, yep.
Hopefully Dallas can get over it and get out for game 2. But Colorado's just tough. I mean, that team's, man, doesn't matter what they did regular season, playoffs. It's hard to bet against them.
Yeah, I mean, it's that's going to be a good long series. I expected it to be that way with Colorado and Dallas, and like I said, we've said it over and over with Dallas, and that they've had these bad game ones, but they've found a way to regroup and found their way to get back into the series and win a series. So they're gonna be tested again. Now, they got down 2-0 against Vegas, and they still won that series. I wouldn't want to tempt fate with this Colorado team, though.
Not at all.
And go down 2-0 again, because while they won 2 in Vegas, I don't know if there's a scenario in that building at playoff time, Ball Arena in Denver, where I envision Dallas being able to win 2 in Denver.
No.
So I think they can split in Denver, but asking Dallas to win both games in Denver, I think, would be asking a lot. So I think game 2 now is a little more important. That, hey, don't go down 2-0 in this series like you did against the Vegas Golden Knights in the first round. All right, let's get into tonight. We've got 2 Stanley Cup playoff games on tap, and we will begin with Game 2, East semifinal, Boston Bruins, Florida Panthers. Florida losing 5-1 in Game 1, looking to bounce back. One of the more woeful performances, I guess you could say, that you'll see Florida have. Coming off a long layoff, will they be sharper? Will they be more dialed in tonight? We'll see. They're -170 home favorites here in Game 2. The total 5.5. Boston obviously leading 1-0 in the series. Here's the thing with it. Here's where I am with this game, and that's really not doing a whole lot as far as side, at least from the side perspective pregame. I want to take Florida in this spot. Bounce back. They're going to be a lot better. I know that for a fact. But being a lot better doesn't mean you're going to win. That's
agree.
number 1. Number 2 is, look at this price point. Florida's -170 right now here in Game 2. So they're actually laying a bigger number, just slightly a little bigger number here in Game 2 than they were in Game 1. So you're saying you've got to lay -170 with Florida against a team and specifically a goaltender that hasn't given up more than 2 goals in the entire playoffs so far? I don't think he has, Jeremy Swayman. He hasn't given up more than 2 goals. I mean, even the Toronto wins that they had, remember when they scored 3, I believe it was Toronto in Game 2 of that Boston series. Linus Ullmark was the goalie that night.
Yep.
When Austin Matthews got the game winner. Jeremy Swayman's been incredible. And so you're saying I got to lay $170 with this Florida team against this goaltender right now. I think this is a regular season number right now with Florida. And so I'm on the sidelines for this game. I will not fade Florida in this spot, but I find it difficult to see the value to bet Florida in any fashion here. Maybe first period puck line, you'll get -0.5, but again, Jeremy Swayman's been good, especially early in these games. How many times has he put up a goose egg in the first period? Yeah. So I don't even have the boatload of desire to rush to the betting window and take Florida in the first period puck line either, here in this game, given the way he's playing. Not to mention, look, the big story for Boston is their offensive issues. The Pasternak had a slow series. They haven't gotten anything from Coyle. Zacha didn't have a good first round, but Zacha gets 2 points in Game 1. Pasternak looked way better in Game 1 against Florida than he did in most of the Toronto series. And then all of a sudden, you're getting all these contributions from unexpected sources. Mason Lowry, what a beautiful goal he scored. Brandon Carlo, the new dad, gets on the scoreboard with a big goal for the Boston Bruins. Your defenseman scoring goals and chipping in to the offense here for the Boston Bruins. So this is definitely, for me, more of a props game, player props. There are a bunch that I like in this game, but as far as the side goes, total pass here for me. Even Florida team total. When I usually like a team to bounce back, and win a game when they're a minus 170 favorite, I'll normally bet the team total instead of the money line because you're going to get a better price. Why lay minus 170 with Florida money line when you can take their team total over 3.5 plus 136? Here's the problem. This Swayman's not coming close right now to giving up 4 goals. That's how good he has been. Now, maybe tonight Florida bumps him a few times, rattles his cage, maybe whack a stick, against his pad. Do something to throw him off his game. And that's what I said after game 1 when we recapped game 1 yesterday. They've got to do something to really get him agitated. He's too calm. He's smiling after making saves right now, Jeremy Swayman. That's how much he's having fun and enjoying himself and how much confidence he's playing with right now. You've got to somehow get him off his game. And I think you got to bump him. You don't run him over because you're going to take a penalty for goalie interference if you do that, if you're Florida. But you got to somehow just get in his grill, get in his kitchen, nudge him a bit, just try to do something to throw him off his spot a little bit. Because right now, he's becoming a huge story. And I said this on the show yesterday, Nick. This is giving me 2011 Bruin vibes when they wrote an unbelievable, unconscious Tim Thomas all the way to the Stanley Cup that year. That's the level Swayman's playing at, Nick, right now. Yeah. Like the hockey puck looks like a friggin' beach ball to him. It's huge. Like he's seeing it. He's seeing through traffic and still tracking the puck and making the saves even when there's players in front of him. Normally this is a Florida team where you'd say it's a great matchup when you're facing a red-hot goalie for a team like Florida because they just make life miserable for the opposing goalie. But I don't think they did enough of that in game 1. They got to do more of that tonight. So for me, from a side perspective, it's a pass. This probably goes to the under tonight after game 1 went over. So, I think it's one of those series where I love the over in game 1, but even I admit got a little fortunate. Boston did all the scoring to help that game go over the total. I'm not bullish on the over tonight. This is more of a player props game. There are a lot of props I do like for this game. So it's definitely more player prop heavy for me when it comes to betting game 2. Boston and Florida tonight. Nick, what do you think here? Game 2, Bruins, Panthers.
Well, so for me, you got Bobrovsky, right? Look at what he did in the first series against Tampa. I mean, he was unbelievable. And then Boston
not so good in game 1, though.
No, not so good in game 1.
No.
So, but look what Boston does. They come in, they get in his face. I mean, a little bit of contact here and there, and they put the puck in the net. No. I mean, that's what you have to do with Swayman. I mean, you have to get into his grill. You have to, like you said, you got to rattle him somehow. I mean, go hard. If you're coming into the crease, you're going to make some contact, I mean, that's just what you have to do. I mean, if Bobrovsky or Swayman, if they're seeing the puck, they're going to stop it. It's plain and simple. You got to get bodies in front. You got to throw around. I mean, that's the only way you're going to win the game against Boston right now. Unless you got a 0-0 game going into the end of the third period, I don't see him breaking 3 to 4 goals. I don't see it happening. But I mean, Florida, they got to figure it out. I mean, they looked so bad in that game. It was rough.
Oh, sorry about that. I was muted. For Florida, they weren't good. That was about as, that's about as bad as you'll see Florida play. But they were off of long layoff, long bit of rest. You could tell they were not sharp. They were not in. They will be a lot better tonight. That much I know.
Oh, agree.
Yeah. Florida will be a lot better tonight. That's for sure. But somehow, some way, they've got to get really a lot more bodies in front of Jeremy Swayman. Jeremy Swayman's becoming a real story, guys. This is now like game 1. I opened my eyes to it that this is the kind of run I saw Tim Thomas put together for Boston in 2011, where he's just unconscious. He's stopping everything. And Boston's getting more and more belief in themselves. The more wins they get, the more they see Swayman playing well. They have this magical moment in game 1 where the new dad, gets a goal. Brandon Carlo. I mean, they've got some real good karma going right now, the Boston Bruins. That's a scary thing. Not to mention they probably want to pay back Florida in the worst way for last year, blowing the 3-1 series lead. So the bottom line is, while I don't want to fade Florida, this is a big-time bounce-back spot. There's a Florida team. All year they've been good off a loss. All year they've been very good off a loss. But to me, the value ain't there. I've got to lay minus 170 with Florida to bet against to bet on them tonight, even in a bounce back spot. -0.5 first period puck line. I want to take that against a goalie that's not giving up a goal in the first period since how long?
Yeah.
That doesn't sound like an appealing option to me. Either the team total over 3.5, Florida to score 4 goals against a guy that hasn't given up more than 2 pretty much throughout the playoffs. I mean, that's why there's just no pathway for backing Florida, or I say there's the value. I'm comfortable with that price. I'm comfortable with that money line shot. I'm comfortable with that puck line. I'm comfortable with that team total. There's nothing. So I'm off it. Totally off the game here as far as the side goes. But there are a bunch of props I like. I like as far as Boston, we'll start with them. I'm going back to the well with Geeky. My bargain bin special of the night at +500, Nick. I took him to score a goal. I used it in what's called our bargain bin special of the night in game 1. And I'm coming back to the well with Morgan Geeky. Scoring the kind of goal you want to see right in front of the net. You get another very good price with him. Zacha had a 2-point night. I don't know about scoring, but Zacha to get a point, because he got 2 assists the other night. His point prop is only -105. So, I do like that a bit. Brandon, I don't want to be a day late and a dollar short. That might have just been one magical night because he just became dad. But if you think Brandon Carlo can turn it into a 2-game goal scoring streak, it's, plus 1550, for him to score a goal for the Bruins once again here tonight. But definitely geeky props. Pasternak over shots. He's starting to shoot the puck again. Brad Marchand's been quiet, the last couple of games. Will that continue? That remains to be seen. And by the way, Justin Brazeau, he had a nice goal in game 1, +600, maybe a little small shot there as well. And then on the Florida side of the equation, I think this is going to be another win or lose for Florida or Boston for that matter. This is going to be he's going to be under the gun tonight, Jeremy Swayman. How many 39 saves, 40 shots faced in game 1. And that was a Florida team that really wasn't overly sharp. Looked like there was a little rust on their skates, if you will. I think it's going to be another high volume shots on goal night for the Florida Panthers team, that Jeremy Swayman's going to be busy. Florida doesn't want to go back to Boston down 2-0. So I'm definitely going to the Jeremy Swayman over saves tonight. It's 30.5. I think there's a good chance that goes over the number for sure.
Oh, for shots on goal. Absolutely.
Yeah. Jeremy Swayman over 30.5 saves, I think is a tremendous. I think it's arguably the best bet to make on the board in this entire game 2 tonight. To me, is Swayman over 30.5 saves. And then for shots on goal, Sammy Reinhart easily went over his shot prop in game 1. I expected again here over 3.5, +120. Sammy Reinhart to get a goal, +140. Matt Tkachuk to get a goal, just because, Florida right now, they're relying on the same, core guys to score goals for them. Tkachuk, Reinhart, and Verhaeghe. Don't overthink it. Those are the guys you want to be betting for player props tonight and moving forward if you're Florida for production. And I'm going to go back to the well. Didn't hit in game 1. Tkachuk and Verhaeghe point parlay, -110. I'm going back to that tonight. Verhaeghe and Tkachuk, parlay them together to get a point. The price is like even money. I think they both get on the score sheet. Tkachuk got a goal in game 1. Verhaeghe did not get on the score sheet in game 1, but definitely I think he's got a good chance to get on the score sheet here tonight. So those are the props I like the most on both sides here tonight. Tkachuk is another one over shots on goal. Tkachuk over shots, Reinhart over shots on goal. I'd even take a shot too, because I saw somewhere and I read this that Brandon Montour shot attempts was off the charts for him in game 1. And remember, he had a big series against Boston last year. And I know we had Brett Skalski and we had Eric Delarose on Monday's show talking about Brandon Montour props. I wouldn't shy away from it just yet, even though it didn't come through in game 1. Panthers will be better. Panthers will be sharper. So Montour goal +600, Montour assist +165, or Montour to get a point +116, and even Montour over 2.5 shots on goal -125, because he had a bunch of attempts.
Oh yeah, and they're going to see a lot of ice time.
Yep.
Those top guys are going to see plenty of ice time. They're going to start throwing the puck even more to the net.
Yeah.
So I definitely think Montour's he's awesome.
Yeah.
He's such a good defenseman. So I honestly think he's definitely going to get Probably 4 or 5 shots this next game.
Yeah, definitely. And all we need is 3.
Exactly.
For over 2.5 shots. I remember this guy had double-digit shot attempts in game 1. So it is a very good prop game. Based on what we saw in game 1, based on the way we think the flow is going to be, Florida, it's going to be one of those games where Boston, if they're going to win this game, they very well could. They could win this game, Boston 4-2 or 5-1 or something, and yet be outshot 42 to 26 or something. 42 to 28, because that's how good Swayman is. Swayman can steal games right now. He's clearly showing that. And like I said, Florida, I think they're going to do it. They're going to be better, but it doesn't guarantee victory for them. And I'm certainly trusting that. I'm not willing to go against this goaltender right now at -170. While I like the spot for Florida, I think they've got the potential to tie up this series. I just don't like this price. It's that simple.
Until Swayman puts up 4 or 5 goals against in a game, I wouldn't bet against him.
Exactly. So, like I said, great game to watch, though. Can't wait. Love a lot of those props. It's a player prop game for me there, pretty much, with Bruins and Panthers tonight. All right, we turn our attention to, before we get to game 1, just the overall series first. Western Conference semifinal. Finally, the last of the 4 second-round series to get underway finally gets going tonight. The all-Canadian matchup, Edmonton Oilers, Vancouver Canucks, Edmonton -250 series favorites. I have not bet a series price pre-series, but I have faith in the Canucks being a tougher out for Edmonton than people think. There's a strong sentiment out there that this Vancouver team is going to get steamrolled by Edmonton. I'm not so sure about that. I still have Edmonton winning the series because I saw enough in the LA series where Edmonton can win a high-scoring game with obviously McDavid, Draisaitl, Hyman, and all the offense that comes with them. But they've also showed with Skinner, being able to play well for the Edmonton Oilers in net. And they showed in Game 4, Nick, that they can win a 2-1, low or 1-0, I should say, lower scoring type of game. Edmonton can win those lower scoring games. I've got faith that if Vancouver manages to hold them in check, Edmonton's not going to lose their poise. Edmonton's not going to lose their patience, and they're going to play a patient game like they did against Los Angeles, in Game 4. So that's where the difficulty comes for Edmonton, for Vancouver, I should say, in this series. That Edmonton's proven that they can win different types of ways. And the big question for me is, I believe in Shilovs for Vancouver. He's been great. He was great in the National Series, no question about it. This is going to be a taller order, though. A little more explosiveness, a lot more firepower at the disposal here of the Edmonton Oilers. So he's going to be tested a little bit more. We'll see if he's up to the test. And it's going to be Artur Shilovs until at least Game 5, because they've already ruled out Thatcher Demko and through to at least Game 5 of this series. I don't think you're going to see him in this series at all. I think the earliest you're going to see Thatcher Demko, and I mean the absolute earliest, is if Vancouver manages to get their way to the Western Conference final. I don't think you're going to see him at all before that. So in the series, I think Edmonton wins. I'm obviously not interested in laying this kind of price, but let's say Vancouver surprises them in Game 1 and you get a better reduced price on Edmonton, maybe then I'll join in the fray as far as a series bet. But what I do like here, one bet that I've made pre-series, I've went to the total number of games for this particular series here. Yeah, I'm just trying to find it here. Series total games. Now you got to lay a price, but it's around -160 over 5.5 games. I think it can go 6. I think we're disrespecting Vancouver too much, saying Edmonton in a sweep, Edmonton in 5. I don't think so. I think Edmonton will have to work for it. I think Edmonton's going to win the series because I trust their overall allotment offensively a little more. And I don't know if Vancouver can survive another lifeless series from Pettersson too. No. And he did have a nice assist at the end of the Nashville series, but he's got to be more impactful here in this series against Edmonton. So I like Edmonton in the series, but the only bet I've made pre-series from the series betting market for Edmonton Vancouver is that over 5.5 games, -160. I don't know about 7, because you could sprinkle on over 6.5 is +230. So if you think this is going 7, you get a really nice price, +230 or so for the series to go 7. I think I might sprinkle on that too, but the primary bet for me is the over 5.5 games. Just get me to 6 games, and it's profitable for me in this series. Oh, and I also have Edmonton exact series result, 4-2. in this series as well. So that's Edmonton exact series result, 4-2 in this series as well. So I'm also on that for a little bit. Nick, just overall series thoughts for you here, Edmonton, Vancouver.
Oh, I definitely have Edmonton. Edmonton, at first I had them in 5 just because I watched so close to the Vancouver Preds series. And it's going to be tough for Vancouver because they don't get a lot of shots. If you watched, I think they averaged 21 shots a game or so during that Preds series. I mean, they didn't have a lot.
No.
And I'm not saying the Preds did either. It was a very just back and forth, not a lot going on. I think Edmonton's going to pour it on them, and hopefully they can sustain it. But I put Edmonton in 5.
All right, Edmonton in 5 for Nick here with the Oilers and Canucks. All right, we move now to Game 1 specifically with Edmonton and Vancouver tonight. We've got the Oilers minus 135, road favorites, 6 the total. You know what we're doing here, over trifecta. Absolutely. These Game 1s in the second round, I think 3-0 to the over. We saw Bruins Panthers go over Game 1, albeit a little fortuitous there, but it still went over. We saw Rangers Hurricanes over the total in Game 1. We saw obviously the Avalanche and Stars last night, Game 1 go over the total. When you're entering a new series, and especially in this kind of situation where both of these teams have been off for a while, you know, the Oilers have been off for a while, Vancouver's been off for a while. We're looking at about a week-long hiatus for both of these teams prior to Game 1 tonight. So, yeah, this is just a no-brainer decision for not that it's going to be a no-brainer easy winner, but it's just a no-brainer decision for me. Over 1.5 first period, both teams to score first period, over 6, minus 120 for the full game. I think we're going to see, as the series goes on, like with a lot of these playoff series, first round, second round, overs early in the series, unders later in the series, especially once we get to Game 5 and especially Game 6 or a 7. You know, if we see those in the series, and we'll definitely see things tighten up. But here in Game 1, for sure, over trifecta for me. Nothing on the side for me. You know, I don't think I'm rushing to lay that kind of a number with Edmonton on the road in Game 1. I want to see how Vancouver handles the Oilers, and I know people will make a big deal of Vancouver sweeping the season series against Edmonton. Vancouver won every game, but keep in mind, 2 of the 4 wins Vancouver had against Edmonton were the first 2 games of the season. That's when Edmonton still had, Jay Woodcroft. Things were falling apart. They had that brutal start to the season. They just didn't have anything going their way, and it took them a while to get their season back on track. So 2 of those 4 games were when, Edmonton was in the shits. So you have to keep that in mind. This is a different Edmonton team now that the Vancouver Canucks are playing compared to the 2 blowouts that they had again. Well, not 2 blowouts, but they beat them twice. The first game was a blowout. So again, and Campbell was in net. Good point, Rich H. And look, he's a Canucks fan, and even he's saying, yeah, my team went 4-0 against Edmonton. Who gives 2 fucks and 2 shits about it? Campbell was in net. The team stunk at the time, Edmonton. It's a totally different part of the season right now.
Well,
and look at what did the season series do for Winnipeg against Colorado in the first round? Winnipeg won the season series against Colorado. Colorado won the series. So you have to be careful with that stuff. Judging that or assuming that regular season performance is going to carry over into the playoffs. No question. So this for me is a pass on the side, but I really like the over trifecta. Nick, what do you think here of Game 1 specifically, Oilers Canucks?
I mean, if Pettersson doesn't get going and anything else, I see Edmonton at least scoring 4. So I'd give it over 6.
Well, if you like Edmonton to score 4, team total for Edmonton is over 3.5 plus 118. Sounds like you like that.
Yeah, I think they will. I mean, again, watching Vancouver, I don't think they're gonna be able to sustain Edmonton's pressure. So I take Edmonton scoring 4, at least 4, and then Canucks hopefully can put 2 in. They didn't, so I would take over 6.
All right, I agree. I think that's the move. Stay off the sides. A little dicey here with both of these teams have been off for such a long time. And the one thing too, look, Edmonton, I think, if I had to lean one way, I'd lean Edmonton, but I don't like the price. And don't underestimate, that Vancouver home ice there. It's a great environment.
Oh yeah.
It's pumped up for, first game of an all Canadian matchup against a division rival like this. That's definitely going to put some energy and wind in the sails of the Canucks tonight, for sure. And by the way, if when I say lean Edmonton, I would play the team total if I rather than the -135. And I've said that all season about Edmonton.
Yeah.
When you like Edmonton and they're any sort of moderate home or road favorite, you've got to look to maybe back them with their team total instead. And I think that's the way you approach this here, that if you like Edmonton in this game, you take the team total maybe instead of the money line here in this one. But for me, the primary look is over 1.5 first period, both teams to score first period, and over 6 for the full game. The over 6 I really like for the full game, definitely. All right, as far as props go for this game, there's also another prop game where there's some opportunity here as far as the player prop market. We've got some lineup shifting that has taken place. Adam Henrique is out for Edmonton here in game 1, and he's primarily been on that left wing side of the top line with Connor McDavid and Zach Hyman. So obviously that leaves a vacated spot, which means someone's moving up to that position. The million-dollar question is, who would that be? And the answer is Matthias Janmark for the Edmonton Oilers. He is up there with McDavid and Hyman. Right away, I went to the player props for Matthias Janmark because Connor McDavid can make a broomstick look good and make a broomstick score a goal with him.
100%.
100%. There's going to be value. I was thinking, what, if odds makers have a clue what's going on here, we're going to at least see some kind of adjustment here with Janmark now knowing that he's likely to suit up on the top line with McDavid and Hyman tonight. So I went and looked, and to my shock, Matthias Janmark is plus 690 at some spots to score a goal tonight. Are you kidding? It's on the top line with McDavid and Hyman. Incredible value. I know he's more of a defensive player, defensive forward, and that's why Chris Knobloch has chosen Matthias Janmark to play on the top line with McDavid and Hyman because he's a defensively responsible player, and you have a little bit of a greater defensive presence and a greater, makes the line stronger away from the puck, having Matthias Janmark on that line. I think that's what Chris Knobloch sees in making this move to put Janmark up there with Henrique out. Nugent Hopkins, Draisaitl, and Kane. Evander Kane really got red hot down the stretch of the LA series, so maybe some props involving him. You got Dylan Holloway, Ryan McLeod, Corey Perry on the third line, Warren Fogle, Derek Ryan, Connor Brown on the fourth line. Ekholm and Bouchard props are always, worth a look. The top two defensemen that play all those minutes for the Oilers. So, I wouldn't talk anyone out of that for sure. And then for Vancouver, the one that stands out to me, and we've talked a lot about, obviously Miller and Besser. I'm never going to say it's a bad thing to bet their props in playoff time. They had a good series, both of them against the Nashville Predators. Miller and Besser have proven to be very good big-time playoff performers for the Canucks. I've been disappointed in Höglander. He didn't do more in the first round, but, he's still on the second line with Pettersson and Mikheyev. Joshua, Lindholm, and Garland on the third line. I think Elias Lindholm, this is one of those series where maybe he comes to the forefront a little bit. He showed little flashes of getting that offense going against Nashville, although we know he's here for face-off prowess. We know he's here for two-way, good defensive play away from the puck, but it wouldn't surprise me to see Lindholm be a little bit more of a factor offensively in the series. But the one that stands out to me, Nick, for Vancouver is Pius Suter. Pius Suter for the Vancouver Canucks. He had 5 shots on goal in the series clinching game against Nashville. He did score a goal. He could have had like a hat trick. That's how many chances he had. And he's up there with Miller and Besser, Nick, on the top line. So as much as we talked about Janmark, tremendous value, plus 690 to score playing on the top line. You could say the same thing about Pius Suter here for Vancouver, playing on the top line. You can get him plus 475 to score a goal. You can get him just plus 160 to get a point. Never mind a goal, just to get a point, plus 160 playing on that top line for Vancouver. So it's a good prop game as far as value is concerned.
Yeah, and I had Suter, he was tearing it up. That last game, I was like, somebody's got to get on this guy. Like he was, like you said, he could have had a hat trick with all the chances he had. Yep. I mean, he was all over. So I would definitely take him for a point. especially. There's no doubt in my mind. I'm sure he'll have a point. Goal, I would even take him, especially if he plays the way he did the last 2 games of that Preds series, because he was all over.
Yep.
So I would definitely take him as a goal.
No doubt. I agree with that fully. No question. So, yeah, Pius Suter, underrated, moved to the top line, and look what he did with that opportunity in Game 6 against Nashville in Music City, the backyard of Nick Wydock, when what he was able to do there. He got a goal, but he had 5 shots. He was always, getting chances. He was robbed, too, in the first period by, I think it was McDonough. McDonough lifted his stick on an odd man rush, and I think if Suter got stick on puck in that situation, he would have scored there. So he could have had 2 goals in that game.
The play you're talking about, too.
Yeah, I remember it. McDonough saved a goal. Yep.
Yeah, he definitely would have scored. Wide open net.
Yep, no doubt. And that play saved a goal, and it was a great play by McDonough at the time. So, like I said, I think there's big-time value with those 2 top liners, one for each team. Janmark for Edmonton and Suter for Vancouver tonight. Definitely interested in props for both of them. All right, Nick, you know what? We usually do the ad reads at this time, and then we do bargain bin special of the night and best bets. But you're on the move. You've been gracious here to be in your car for the last hour. We're going to let you go, but we're going to let you go on this note here before we say goodbye to you. If you had a bargain bin special of the night pick, this is the segment we do at the end of each episode. And the bargain bin special of the night is a player prop that you like the most that is plus 300 or better. That's why it's called the bargain bin special of the night. If you had to choose one tonight, what would it be? And if you don't know the exact price, don't worry about it. You could say, I like this guy to score a goal. I'll look up the price for you, and I'll see if it fits the criteria. But what comes to mind as a potential bargain bin special of the night for tonight for Nick Wydock?
Honestly, I'm going to go with Suter.
I like it.
I am. Yep. Even though we just talked about it, like you said, underrated. He was just watching him the last few games. He was tearing it up. So that would be my bargain bin special.
All right. And last but not least, Cider Total, best bet here for tonight. It can be from either game, Boston, Florida, Edmonton, Vancouver. What do you like, Nick, for your best bet here tonight?
I'm going to say Boston. Boston, Florida. Boston over Florida.
Wow, going for a 2-0 series lead with those Boston Bruins. Hey, you're getting one heck of a price. Plus 150 for the Boston Bruins to take Game 2 against the Florida Panthers. So Boston plus 150 for Nick with his best bet here for this Wednesday night. Nick, it's been a blast. We appreciate you doing this, especially because I had no idea when we scheduled this a long time ago that you were going to be on the move today. But the fact that the time you sat in your car.
But I appreciate you having me on.
No, great stuff. And like I say, we'll get you back on the show in the future again for sure. It was good times. And hopefully next time, maybe a little more stationary. But no, it worked out okay. We had some kinks there early. We were wondering, hold on with this connection. And it ironed itself out. And we made it through the whole show. So awesome stuff, Nick. We wish you all the best. And again, we'll try to get you back on later on.
Sounds like a plan. I appreciate it.
All right, Nick, take care. All the best to you.
You too.
All right, there he is, Nick Wydock. We appreciate him joining us here on this edition of the Ice Guys show. Former pro goalie for a few years and now teaching goaltending to the kids down in Tennessee. Great to hear, stories like that where, this is a guy that spent most of his life in a non-traditional hockey market, and he is playing a big hand in making sure that youth hockey is served in the state of Tennessee. So it's great. Great to see Nick and the contributions he's making to hockey off the ice. So great stuff with Nick Wydock, our guest here today on the Ice Guys show. We had a great betcast last night for those of you that joined us. We appreciate it. But a reminder, our next 2 betcasts, they are exclusive to our Patreon members. So make sure that if you want to join us for the next 2 betcasts, next week we've got 2 of them, Tuesday, May 14, Thursday, May 16. 2 betcasts next week. Both of them are Patreon exclusive live betcasts, which means the only way to be able to watch the betcasts and join us live on the betcast stream is to sign up just $10 per month, patreon.com/Ice Guys. You'll have access to our Patreon exclusive live Stanley Cup playoff betcasts for the rest of the playoffs. You'll get access to our daily sides, totals, and player props posted each and every day on the page, goalie charts, totals charts, and more. Lots more bonus content. And for those of you concerned about signing up now because it's so late in the season, saying, well, if I sign up now, there's only like a month left in the season. What about the off season? Don't you worry. We're going to have a ton of content on the Patreon page throughout the summer, throughout the off season, exclusive shows, exclusive videos, exclusive articles. We're bringing back the Player Suite interview series over the summer in the hockey off season as well. All of that content will be exclusive to Patreon members. So we have you covered still during the off season at patreon.com/Ice Guys. So even though the daily show that you see here free on YouTube is going to go on a hiatus over the summer months, we are still going to be bringing you tons of exclusive content throughout the off season at patreon.com/Ice Guys. So sign up there, just $10 per month. And last but not least, check out the Ice Guys store. Get your gear and your merch at iceguys.myspreadshop.com. All right, my bargain bin special of the night and my best bet coming up right after we hear from our great sponsors. All right, Boston Hemp Inc. Make sure you check them out. Get 20% off all orders on the site using the promo code IceGuys at bostonhempinc.com. All right, bargain bin special of the night for me. It's funny. Nick went with Pius Suter. For me, it was either going to be him or the other guy up on the top line from that Edmonton-Vancouver game. So because Nick went with Pius Suter, who I really like, I think it's a great bargain bin special of the night pick and candidate. I'm going to go with Matthias Janmark for Edmonton, plus 690 to score a goal tonight. It's just tremendous value that you cannot pass up, especially with him slated to start on the top line tonight with Connor McDavid and Zach Hyman. So absolutely, it is a slam dunk choice for me for bargain bin special of the night. Matthias Janmark, Edmonton Oilers, plus 690 for my bargain bin special of the night. All right, best bets. We're going to that same game for my best bet. Edmonton, Vancouver over 6, minus 120. We've seen it with the game one matchups in this round. Higher scoring, little sloppy. Teams that have been on layoffs. You're not seeing everybody sharp defensively. Goaltenders not as sharp. They're out of their rhythm of playing every other day. And the result has been goals and overs in game ones. First round, more overs than unders in game ones. Second round, 3-0 to the over here in game ones. I think that trend continues tonight. Oilers, Canucks, over 6, minus 120 for my best bet for this Wednesday slate. All right, that's a wrap. We appreciate everybody joining us. Hit the like button on the way out. We appreciate it very much. A reminder, the Ice Guys is live 7 days a week, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday and Sunday, noon Eastern. If you can't watch the show live, download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and more. Download the Ice Guys podcast when you can't watch the show live. For Nick Wydock, our guest, we thank him for joining us today. I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Wednesday night. Enjoy the games and good luck. And we will be back with you tomorrow on Thursday for another edition of the Ice Guys.